Well, good afternoon and good morning and good evening to you wherever you are in Northeastern's global university system. My name is Carl Reed, and I have the privilege of serving as Northeastern's Chief Inclusion Officer. On behalf of President Ayoun and the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, I'd like to welcome you to Northeastern's inaugural Inclusive Impact Innovation Symposium. Woo! Hundreds of people have registered both for here in person and the historic John D. O'Brien African American Institute and streaming from around the global university system to celebrate innovative projects created by and for members of our community. Projects that are designed to advance belonging and inclusion for all members of our university. Indeed, Northeastern has made experience belonging a priority, committing to creating a welcoming and inclusive community that accepts a diversity of viewpoints and where individuals of all identities, backgrounds, and experiences can thrive, have a strong sense of belonging, and achieve academic, research, and professional success. And now more than ever, particularly as members of our community are feeling unsafe because of their identity, their beliefs, and their backgrounds, this topic of belonging is more critical to elevate in our community. As you'll hear momentarily from our provost, when Northeastern thinks about its future, becoming an inclusive university is not the first question. Becoming an inclusive university is the first question and not the last question. Innovation and inclusion occur at the intersection of diverse perspectives, fields, cultures, and backgrounds because serendipitous collisions force us to challenge our inherent biases and enable different viewpoints and frames of mind to emerge. This creative mix of identity and perspectives reside in our classrooms and our offices, our laboratories and our hallways, our conference rooms and on the walk paths, and in our residence halls. And thus, we created the I3 Fund to unleash that creativity, to inspire collaboration, to spark innovative ideas that could produce scalable initiatives and that which can be replicated across the university. And because Northeastern desires to be a model to improve higher education writ large, a key outcome of this program is to surface evidence-based practices and initiatives that promote belonging among people and thus serve as a model for inclusive excellence in all of academia. The projects today were selected from 59 proposals, all totaling $2.2 million in funding requests. And I just pulled out my checkbook and, now. And this is just the inaugural year. So there's a lot of built-up interests and creative ideas that are waiting to be funded. And with that, it's now my pleasure to introduce my boss, one of two with whom I have the privilege of working, who made available the seed funds for making this happen, our provost, David Madigan.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here. This is an exciting moment, the first of what will presumably become an annual event, and we want to make it bigger and bigger. So I want to join you in welcoming the folks here in the room, the folks online to this event. We as a university have absolutely prioritized our efforts, around, as Carl said, around diversity, equity, and inclusion. All three of those things, and in so many ways, they're all hard. Inclusion is the hardest part, right? Is how do we create a truly inclusive environment where everyone can succeed, truly everyone. Diversity we are completely committed to in all its dimensions. We are absolutely committed to making an equitable environment for all of us to work in. But the inclusion piece, and hence, Carl we're thrilled, and it's just fabulous to have Carl as our Chief Inclusion Officer. That's not an accident. And that's the title, not Chief Diversity Officer, although it's all of this. It's all of these things: diversity, equity, and inclusion. So we have a strategic plan, or an academic plan, we like to call it, at the university. It began with the community in the middle of COVID. We had lots and lots of town halls and so on. And what emerged out of that was a short document that I recommend. Perhaps you've all seen it, I hope, but certainly if you haven't, I hope you read it. In previous versions of our plan, which the current plan is an evolution of previous plans, but in previous versions of the plan, there was always a section on DEI. There is no such section in the current plan, and the reason is it's everywhere. It is woven throughout the plan. It is crystal clear we cannot succeed with respect to our goals, and in particular our goals of having, ever-increasing positive impact in the world. Can't do that unless we are diverse, equitable, and above all else, inclusive. It's not an option. We simply must do this. The cultural centres, what we're in here, the Cabral Centre in the John D. O'Brien African American Institute, as well as all the other cultural centres around here, are kind of testimony to the fact that there's been a deep commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion at this university for a long time, but it has become ever more kind of front and central and essential to our future success. So this Inclusive Impact Innovation Project, or whatever you want to call it, initiative, is our attempt to kind of tap into the community's brilliant ideas about how to make the place more inclusive globally, right, throughout the global university system. And it's fabulous to see that this isn't just Boston. The winning projects are not just Boston-based, which is fantastic. But where does innovation come from? It comes from the faculty, the staff, the students. And what has happened here is astonishing. So the 5 winners, congratulations to you all. As I think you just said, was chosen from 59 proposals. Like, it's mind-blowing. So it's a call to arms for us right now. That means there are 54 proposals that are not represented on the walls here. We have to find a way to make this happen. We have to find a way to both internally within the university and externally through philanthropy to find ways to support these amazing projects. So it's exciting, it's fantastic, that we have 59 proposals, but really to me it's kind of, wow, we have to up our game here, right? This is fabulous that our communities are responding in this way. Bring it on. Finally, I'd just like to take a moment to recognize the Office of Diversity, Equity and Inclusion, and the fearless leader, Carl, for your work and your colleagues' work in creating this program. Rosa, hi. Fantastic work. And also to the members of the selection committee, who, God bless you, like trying to pick 5 winners out of 59 amazing proposals is tough work. So thank you for doing that. And thank you all for attending, and onwards. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Provost Madigan, and thank you for your support as well. One of the things that I really appreciate about David Madigan is that during the very first interview I had about this position, he said, "Let me just tell you why I came here." He said, "Ideas are the coin of the realm at Northeastern." And that really flows through everything that we do here, to stimulate new ideas, to build capacity as well. And as he mentioned, the best ideas come from people who are on the ground as well. So I do thank you, David, also for recognizing the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. I'd love for my colleagues to stand, the ODEI team. Thank you for all of your work in spearheading this effort. We are small but mighty. There are 8 of us. Jonathan Brown is away at a Fulbright event as well. He's our Vice Provost of Faculty Diversity. But I tell you, just a special shout out. I know we have to get to the presentations, and Nikki's getting nervous. Nikki Long, Nikki is our program coordinator. Nikki graduated from Northeastern a year and a half ago. And she was hired earlier this year, January this year, and took on this project and worked with the team, but really just her focus has been absolutely amazing as well. So she is a product of this very university. I really want to welcome and thank you for your leadership, and really embarrass you completely by having everybody recognize you. So in a moment, you'll hear from 5 teams who will introduce their project and their project team members and share progress made since they were awarded just late last spring. And each team is given 10 minutes to present an overview of their project, followed by 5 minutes of Q&A. After which, I'll bring final remarks after all 5 teams present before transitioning to the poster session. And in the room here, those of you who are online, we had the 5 posters that are spread out around the Cabral Center here. We'll have a poster session and a reception during which also that Northeastern Dining, University Dining Services will provide a spread for us in the reception. And I'll say something about the University Dining Service as well. With that, it's my pleasure to introduce the first project. The first project of the Future Healthcare Leaders, and this will be led by Dr. Margarita Duvall. Margarita?
Thank you, everybody, and thank you so much, Carl, for the introduction, and the provost, and to Jean Chippa for her support in being here. It's my pleasure to summarize the work that we're doing, and I'm very excited that my entire team is here today. The major imperative for our project was really the idea that we are currently experiencing significant shortages in our health care workforce. We also know that representation in health matters, and that we have a lot of data, and we can probably all talk to you for hours about health equity and how it relates to representation in healthcare. And so our idea was, how do we attract more students from underrepresented backgrounds into our healthcare programs, particularly graduate healthcare programs that we offer in Beauvais. We collaborated on this with our colleagues from the College of Science. They have a very large pre-med program, but they also have a lot of undergraduate programs that are great feeders into graduate programs such as pharmacy, speech, pathology, audiology, physician assistants, physical therapists, and many other programs that we offer in Beauvais. Our goal was to try to recruit students really in a cohort approach, but also to make programming available university-wide, including our global campuses. We did want to increase the sense of belonging for our students, but also increase their awareness of graduate school pathways and health careers. And one of the other intended outcomes is to try to identify opportunities for potentially accelerated pathways into our graduate programs from our undergraduate programs, both in Beauvais but also in the College of Sciences. So this is our team, and on the left we have representation from Beauvais College of Health Sciences. On the right side of the slide we have our colleagues from the College of Science, and we have DI leads, we have faculty, we have staff, and we also recruited a program manager who's one of our students, graduate students in applied psychology, who's been instrumental in getting us to where we are right now. So thank you, Shannon, and Shannon is here today as well. And everybody wave, please. Okay, great. Perfect. Mentioned already that one of the major goals for this is to increase the sense of belonging for our undergraduate and graduate students from underrepresented backgrounds. And through the programming, we think that we can also help develop skills and behaviors and attitudes through the mentorship program that we're planning to implement, through the educational seminars and group mentorship that we're providing, and engagement with peers and faculty. We, again, focused on a cohort approach where our cohort includes students from Summer Bridge program. And with these students, we're trying to match them up to peer mentors and potentially faculty mentors or alumni mentors. We initially planned to have at least 4 signature hybrid events that would be open to all of the students within the university, and have a hybrid component to allow students to participate if they're in co-op or if they're at a distance campus. We do have this virtual component for these events, and that sometimes also allows for our speakers to join us virtually. We do plan to do some assessment in terms of asking the cohort of students who is involved in terms of like sort of their baseline sense of belongingness at Northeastern, what their interests are in mentorship, what mentorship opportunities they already may be taking advantage of, and what are they interested in terms of programming, and certainly doing some assessment and focus groups after the events take place and after the first year. So we have engaged very intentionally with the Summer Bridge scholars that we have in the College of Science and in the College of, in Beauvais College of Health Sciences. But we also send out information and invite all of our students to, again, be very inclusive and communicate with our listservs about the opportunities, particularly for group mentorship. So far, we have held 2 events. One was focused on student organizations, particularly those students or organizations that either have a mission that involves underrepresented or historically marginalized groups of students, or related to health equity or global health. And we have additional events that are being planned in the spring semester. Today, actually this evening, we have a very large panel of healthcare providers, different professions. Many of these are faculty, some of these are alumni, telling students about various health career pathways. We've sent out a Qualtrics survey and began the work of identifying students who would like to be assigned to mentors, and then identifying mentors for these students through our networks. We have student advisors who know our students very well. We have previous Summer Bridge participants who are working as peer mentors for each of the Summer Bridge classes, and we hope that as we engage with the students this year, that in the next few years they will also be interested in working and serving as peer mentors. We also started to collaborate and having conversations with our colleagues in Oakland campus who have an overlapping I3 proposal in terms of how can we actually provide peer mentorship guidance and peer mentorship training for our students in collaboration. So these are some other things that we're planning to do for the remainder of the period. In terms of sustaining the work after the grant period is over, we do have a great structure in both colleges in terms of people who are engaging with students on an ongoing basis. In terms of, we have DI leads, we have student Office of Enrollment Management and Office of Student Services teams that work very closely with our Summer Bridge students. We've talked about identifying additional +1 or accelerated pathway opportunities. And we've also talked about potentially establishing scholarships for students who participate in our program and then decide to enroll in one of our graduate programs. We hope to gain more information from our end-of-year assessments to provide better information for us on how to engage with the students in a more meaningful way. And then certainly growing the mentorship pool of peers, and then eventually alumni, and developing more networking opportunities for our students. So with that said, we will be here and happy to engage in discussion. I want to thank the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion for their support and guidance, and for the fact that you keep us so organized and on our toes in terms of reporting and being very organized. So thank you so much. Sorry, there's time for a question. Yeah, anybody has any questions that you'd like to ask that right now? You have a question? Go ahead.
I'm kind of curious how you're measuring belonging.
We measure belonging similarly to how I think university measures belonging on the survey that we complete. Like every other year, we've been completing a climate survey. There's a question about, the extent to which you feel a sense of belonging on a Likert scale. Yeah. If you have any other tools or ideas or metrics, we would love to hear about it. Go ahead.
Hi, great presentation. I was wondering, since Northeastern is in such a perfect location with neighboring hospitals, if
Everybody use the mic so that
Okay.
you can be picked up on the.
Oh, that's right, online.
I was saying, great presentation. I was wondering, since Northeastern and its location is based around a lot of amazing hospitals in the Boston area, if you plan to network with different providers and health professionals in those areas, if you see that.
Thank you for raising this. We haven't intentionally thought about it just yet. We have really engaged with faculty, with our faculty who are from underrepresented backgrounds themselves, so that we make them more visible to all of our students from underrepresented backgrounds as well. But we have started to engage with some of our alumni as well. We haven't really thought about preceptors yet, but it's an excellent point. And we do have a lot of, clinical rotations, co-ops, and certainly know a lot of people in the area who could speak with our students, and we can certainly invite them as guest speakers. It's a great idea. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Margarita. And a couple of things I'll just mention. I failed to introduce her properly. Margarita Duvall is a clinical professor and senior associate dean for faculty affairs and DEI in the Bouvet College of Health Sciences. She also mentioned DEI leads. So many of the colleges, and in fact, just about all the colleges have a point person for diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging in their activities. And our colleague, Lisa Susser, works with them. Lisa is the manager of Network Diversity, to really share best practices as well. And Melissa Berry Woods leads them through a series of conversations and developing their capacity as well. So Margarita and the Bouvet College of Health Sciences has one of the exemplar of the 40 diversity, equity, inclusion action plans, 3-year action plans. And so we can make that available as well to any of you whose units are working on your action plan as well. So thank you for that. The second group that will be presenting is called the Inclusive Innovation Start Summit. And Tara Dunham, Program Manager for Entrepreneurship Entrepreneurship Education from the Rue Institute, will be presenting. Tara?
Hi everybody, my name is Tara Dunham and this is Alicia Jalbert, and we are so thankful for the generosity of the I3 funding for us to be able to put this program together and for giving us the chance to present to all of you about our project. So,
there we go.
That's us.
So we are so thrilled to be here today representing the Rue Institute Northeastern's campus up in Portland. And we are supporting our colleague Anna Ackerman, who initially put in this proposal on an Inclusive Start Summit. At the Rue Institute, one of our core pillars is everything that we do is done in partnerships. If you ever visit us, we have a running joke that everyone is on the partnerships team. And with the Inclusive Start Summit, we are really keen to demonstrate that model both internally across our departments and externally on how we engage the Northeastern community with the surrounding communities each of our campuses are located in. And for an introduction, I am on the partnerships team as a manager of community partnerships, where I primarily work with K-12s and nonprofits across the state of Maine. And to demonstrate how well we'd love to work together with our colleagues on the entrepreneurship team and supporting our founders, this is a picture of one of our first founder residencies, the Tambark company, where we got to visit their opening, their new manufacturing faculty. And in this picture, you'll see representatives from our entrepreneurship team, from our partnerships team, from our marketing team, and Tambark in general. So everything that we do is inclusive internally at the Rue Institute, and we're keen to scale that model with the Inclusive Start Summit.
So we'll tell you a little bit about our program. Designed to transform ideas into prototypes, Start Summits are 1.5-day hackathons that support collaboration between curious, driven people from all over Maine. We're taking that idea and making one that is specifically focused on inclusivity. This award demonstrates Northeastern's commitment to inclusivity by lowering the barrier of entry and allowing us to keep this program at low or no cost to participants, and extending this opportunity to those who are often underrepresented in the entrepreneurial space. A Start Summit is the perfect opportunity to foster inclusivity, innovation, and impact at Northeastern. We host Start Summits around the Portland campus and throughout Maine. We seek out challenges for innovation that are important to our community partners and to our host communities. We connect Northeastern students, faculty, and staff with their larger communities, and we cultivate intentional networks by connecting across organizations and randomizing our teams.
So we keep using this word community partnerships, and what does that actually mean? So for us, that is my role going out into the community and hearing what are the needs, where do these organizations, these nonprofits, and even K-12s want to go next as we work at the Rue Institute to develop Maine's talent pipeline. And as I have these conversations with organizations all throughout the state, I keep hearing this thread of entrepreneurship. We want to teach our students how do they start their own businesses. Or if we're working with a nonprofit, we have a lot of people who own a business or who just came to Maine and want to start a business. You have the tools to do that. How do we make that accessible to our specific membership? So as with Start Summits, this is the first kind of entry point. As Tara said, it's a 2-day hackathon, day and a half, and we're really keen to lower all the barriers to entry. The pivotal point with the Inclusive Start Summit is making sure we are intentionally partnering with community partners who come from traditionally underrepresented populations in business owners to make sure that the Start Summit is welcoming their membership and propelling that talent in Maine forward.
So we've been testing this model of a Start Summit in general since 2022. We've had 7 Start Summits so far across Portland and Maine. We've hosted 200 community members as participants, and we've paid out $42,000 in no strings attached prize money with the hopes that people will continue their projects. Some success markers of note include positive post-event survey responses about our intentional network building, one of the most valuable components of the event. These are direct quotes from our most recent Start Summit 3 weeks ago. Quote, "The experience was very inclusive and collaborative, and I enjoyed the multi-generational experience. It was on aging in place. So we had lots of different people of many different ages. Quote, really interesting to be paired with folks I have never met to hear how the different perspectives inform the challenges. Also, one of our recent Start Summits in Lewiston, Maine in February of this year, we partnered with the Community Organizing Alliance, a social justice civic engagement organization that centers on the voices and experience of BIPOC and low-income Mainers to ensure that they are empowered and engaged in their communities. The theme of our challenge for that particular Start Summit was social innovation, and working with COA gave us the chance to partner with an organization to collaboratively develop our challenge statement and work directly with underrepresented individuals, and it served as the inspiration for us to pursue this I3 opportunity.
As we plan for the first Inclusive Start Summit, tentatively next spring, we are currently in the phase of connecting with community partners throughout the state of Maine. And while we recognize we want to work with organizations already in the entrepreneurial space, providing our resources and assets to elevate their work, it can't just stop at the Start Summit. We also have to have wraparound support to say, yes, you are welcome in this space, and here's who else you can network with. So to make that happen, we are also exploring partnerships with organizations like the Third Place, which creates a third place for BIPOC professionals to convene and network in the state of Maine. Or organizations like Portland Empowered, which trains new Mainers, new to Maine immigrants on how to engage in civic policy in their educational system. So one half of it is, yes, amplifying some of the great work that's already happening there and learning from our existing entrepreneurial organizations, and making sure we connect with the other organizations that are providing that outside of work networking and support as well.
So here we are right now. We've been piloting, like I said, for the past year and a half, the Start Summit model. We're at the point right now of networking with community organizations who want to partner with us on this particular event. When we figure out who we will be working with, we will collaborate with them to create and design the challenge statement and to bring other networks in so that we are, again, intentionally curating a network for the participants. Not only is it important to host this particular Inclusive Impact Innovation Start Summit, but it will be essential to adapt these ideas and learnings to other Start Summits and entrepreneurship programs into the future, both at the Root Institute and at Northeastern as a whole. We hope to do 1 to 2 of these a year. We plan to focus on BIPOC supporting organizations, and we recognize Maine's substantial Indigenous population and the organizations that are working with these populations to foster entrepreneurship.
Going forward, this Inclusive Start Summit and all future Start Summits that we host, really taking our learnings from the initial Inclusive Start Summit and applying them to all, is also going to elevate and complement our existing community partnerships work. So long-term, the Root Institute is intentionally connecting with community organizations to hear their needs and find ways that we can deploy not just the Root Institute's unique assets, but Northeastern's unique assets to elevate, amplify, and grow Maine's talent pipeline. So this work will complement that, and we're really excited because we know at every Northeastern campus there's a whole host of nonprofits doing phenomenal work in their cities, in their towns, and the Start Summits are one way to bring that community in and engage with our students, our faculty, and our staff. As a part of that work for my role, I also get the chance to hear from just a wide swath of community members and what are the next things that are important to them. What are the goals and projects and grants that they want to apply for? So it's a way to foster that sense of connectivity, both through an entrepreneurial workshop and to hear where we can partner going forward.
Awesome. So to wrap up, we ask this office for support to ensure that we continue to honor the DEI mission of this event, ensuring that all of our events are truly welcoming and inclusive for all of our participants. Thank you very much. Any questions?
Thank you for that that presentation and for the project as well. How do you measure success? How will you see, because these projects are 10, 12 to 18 months, how will you know that you will achieve your success when the project funding ends, at least?
For starters, as in the community partnerships role, we're grappling with that right now. What is the way to measure a successful partnership? And we look to the organizer who we co-host the event with to give us just anecdotal feedback. Did this meet your needs? Did this help the community? In addition to that, you also conduct surveys at the beginning and end of every Start Summit to help measure, was this inclusive? Did this meet your needs? Did you take away some learning from it? So it's a both and. It's the qualitative, what do we hear from our participants? How does that complement the existing community partnerships work and the surveys that are issued at the start and end of every Start Summit?
We're moving to a traditional NPS score as part of that survey as well, so that we can look at this against other Start Summits we've done now and into the future. That's the quantitative piece.
Hi, thanks so much for your comments. I'm wondering if you can explain a little bit about either specific design choices you've made and how you run the Start Summit that foster inclusivity. Like, what are key pieces that have gone into your design process of how it actually occurs?
Yeah, I can start. There are a lot of different things. And again, we want to make sure that this inclusivity theme, like you were saying earlier, goes through the whole event and is not just like a checkbox. One is that we are not just partnering in Portland, but we're trying to host these throughout Maine to communities that don't have access to the same resources that Portland does, and reaching organizations that work in those other cities throughout Maine. It's a very rural state. So that's one way. We randomize our teams. So if people show up with a friend and want to participate in the event, they actually are going to get separated. And so they're being encouraged to meet new friends. And that some of the quotes that I shared earlier, that has been one of the, again, anecdotally most rewarding experiences from the program, is just this chance to meet people that they wouldn't have necessarily communicated with or gotten to know. They're getting this like really deep one-on-one connection with them throughout the course of a day. We've been talking about hosting DEI training for our facilitators to allow those experiences to set the stage for a successful event. And I'm sure there's.
And one of our other metrics that we're hoping to accomplish with this START Summit and START Summits going forward is that at least 50% of participants will be from the Northeastern community. So combined with the Northeastern community attendance, the external community attendance, and that randomized teams that Tara had mentioned, along with our facilitators having intentional DEI training to make sure we include everyone. Those are just some of the ways that we're making these events inclusive going forward.
Yes, and also Alicia's great community partnership roles. We're working with these organizations who are deeply ingrained in the community, and they're doing a great job of bringing their members and their community into this as well. So just naturally, they have become very diverse, at least in the aspects of who we are working with for each START Summit.
Thank you so much.
I would very much recommend our colleagues visit the Rue Institute in Maine. It is a phenomenal incubator for new ideas and innovation in education and entrepreneurship. The Founders Program that they talked about has a significant number of founders from communities that are underrepresented who spend their time there in Maine to learn in order to develop their business, but also to invest in the local community as well. They're listeners. This is the first time I ever heard the notion of an opportunity team, where they listen to the market and the industry and understand what the needs are, and then really build programs based on that. And as I mentioned, it's intended to be an incubator for the rest of the university system as well. So it's very, very remarkable place. A couple of things I just want to point out. The Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion has these stickers for your laptops. One says, "I belong here." The other says, "I belong here," but they're designed differently. So we've left them out there in the lobby there. So please pick them up and share them as well. We have thousands of them. So please share that as well. The next group. So we opened this Inclusive Impact Innovation Fund to faculty, staff, and students, and we really wanted to encourage the community to work together. So you start to see this model in the first couple of presentations, where the Bouvet is working with various other colleges, the College of Science. I see Rachel Reichberg here, my dear colleague from the College of Science, and of course Randall Hughes, who is the DEI lead, as well as a faculty member in the College of Science. You'll hear also the partnerships with the resource centers as well. Richard O'Brien was here earlier, who's the director of the John D. O'Brien African American Institute, and a couple of the colleagues came in earlier. I don't see them now, from the Latinx Student Cultural Center as well, Sarah Rivera and Rosa Torres. So the projects are really looking for collaboration, and we valued that. In fact, that was part of the rubric for this selection, is are you working across boundaries? Northeastern prides itself as being boundary spanners. One of the projects that I was very excited about are all students, I think. And it certainly is directed for and about students. It's the peer mentorship inclusion program for international students. And I'll just say a quick word about this as they prepare to come up. We held an open house. The Office of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion moved over into 271 Huntington. So think about Panera Bread. We're right above Panera Bread on Huntington. And we created an open house, and I think it started at like 12 o'clock one afternoon. At 12:000, about 25 international students walked in, and they stayed. It was supposed to be 2 hours. They stayed till 3 o'clock. And in talking to them, they said, we really don't feel like there's a center of belonging here at the university, a place to go where they can gather. So Panera Bread actually becomes that place in a lot of places. And if you've been to Panera Bread, it's really expensive as well. So I was really thrilled to see this program as well. And so, no, did I do the peer mentoring? No, it's not the peer mentoring. It is, okay. It is the peer mentoring. And I see Tara's name here, so Tara and Alicia's name, but it's not the case. And so here to present is Milena Braga, a doctoral student in counseling psychology.
Hello. Can you guys hear me? I have a soft voice, so I wanted to give myself an extra boost with the mic. So my name is Milena Braga. I am a second-year counseling psychology student in the doctoral program, and today I'm going to talk to you guys about a measure of belonging, an intervention to promote belonging among international students, as you had mentioned, here at Northeastern. But before I do, I want to extend our sincere gratitude to the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion for funding this very, very important project that's very near to my heart. So before I talk a little bit about the program, I wanted to give some background as to why it was important and necessary. So something very interesting, Northeastern is actually number 2 in the country in terms of sheer number of international students, so there is a lot of need here. As you can see, many of them are graduate students. Graduate students were of particular interest to us because there are just less natural built-in supports for graduate students in comparison to undergraduate students. And then in addition to that, we were interested in international students because research shows that international students experience significantly higher rates of loneliness in comparison to their non-international peers. Loneliness also shares an association with a number of poor mental and physical health outcomes, so that could be, higher likelihood of developing a specific disease or higher instances of suicidal ideation, which is obviously very concerning, especially when you consider that international students are a lot less likely to seek mental health services in comparison to their non-international peers, even though they are more at need. And this is particularly interesting or important to me. I am an international student. I'm a very proud Brazilian. I'm a DACA recipient. And I think about my journey in academia, especially as a first-gen student. And I think about all the people in my life who have mentored me in a formal and informal capacity, and how meaningful that was to me. I could stand here and list them all day. I'm not going to do that. But I'm really, really grateful to them. And I wouldn't be here today without that support. And so that was part of the basis and why I took an interest in peer mentorship programs. And then also the research does support the idea that peer mentorship programs can increase belonging and reduce loneliness. So our initial aim with this program was to pilot a 15 to 20 international student mentorship program. They would be paired with 5 international mentors. And then we would achieve the goal of promoting equity and inclusion through 2 major targets. One of them would be promoting community We really believe that there's healing that can happen in community and in active and empathic listening, and in hearing somebody say, I see what you've been through and I understand that, and here's what I've done to kind of help me get through that. And then secondly, to provide them with resources as well. Sometimes it's not even necessarily that these students don't have resources, they just don't know where to go, or it's like so overwhelming looking at all the resources that they're not really sure which path to take. So those are our two big aims that the I3 grant was so gracious in supporting us with. So after the award announcement went out, we were reached out to by some people in the business school. I think I see Tim in the back. Hi, Tim. Sorry to put you on the spot. And we really want to thank Tim and Ashma for the work that you guys have done in partnering with us on this program. So they reached out to us basically to say that they were in the middle of launching a peer mentorship program for their business school master students. It's about 450 to 500 students, many of whom are international. And so we were like, great, an opportunity to partner with exactly the people, the students that we wanted to in the first place on a larger scale. And we're working with people who directly interface with these students, so they have knowledge and insight on what these students might need that we might not necessarily have known. And also I want to thank Dr. Rabina and Arabi, who couldn't be here today, for the work that they've done in really putting forth this program, which again, as I said, is very needed. So in meeting with the team, we identified 4 big milestones that were important in the success of this program. The first was, of course, finding mentors and making sure that they were trained so that they could feel supported when they were doing their work with mentees. We wanted to introduce mentors to mentees in a face-to-face context. We thought that was really important. The third one is to continuously check in with mentors on a monthly basis to provide them resources, troubleshoot, and again, make sure that they knew that they weren't alone in this and had the resources that they needed to be successful in their mentorship endeavors. And finally, evaluate the program with an 11-question survey, and this would look at things like, how often did you engage with the program? Do you feel like it increased belonging? Do you feel like decreased loneliness? Do you feel like it promoted academic outcomes that were successful for you? Do you feel like it improved your mental and emotional health? And some of the grant is being used to compensate students for taking this survey. And we really feel like that's an important point because we obviously want to administer interventions that are working. And so it's very beneficial to hear from students their perception of the program. So up to this point, we have successfully achieved 2 of those milestones. So we had 2 trainings after mentors were recruited. Approximately 26 mentors were recruited in the business program. One of the trainings happened in May, early May. And this one was really to identify strengths that the mentors had. We really wanted to emphasize, like, you are all different people with different strengths, and that is good, and we can really benefit from your individual backgrounds and interests, and also build community with each other because we wanted them to know, like, you can rely on one another as well. And you should, because again, it's a community that we're trying to build. And then the second one happened in early September, and this was a more practical training to really emphasize, especially for those of us who are coming from a psychology background, the importance of active and empathic listening. We wanted to emphasize those 3 points that you can see: be present, be compassionate, confirm understanding, because it can be really meaningful when a person feels heard and when you express compassion to them. And then also to know where to refer students if they were coming to the mentors with concerns that were maybe outside of their role as a mentor. So academic concerns, mental health concerns. We really wanted mentors to know, like, if something feels maybe bigger than your role, here's where you can go with those concerns. And those were really wonderful trainings. And also in those trainings, mentors had an opportunity to share what they thought would be beneficial in formulating the program. And again, that was, I think, really helpful in understanding how to move forward. And then we had a mentor-mentee meetup lunch. This was built into their orientation that they had on September 9th in the Curry Center. It was a very wonderful event. Different mentors had different areas of the Curry Center, and they could kind of decide how they wanted to run their meeting with their mentees. It's a very collaborative program, I would say, between us and the mentors. We want them to really feel ownership over like their mentee group. They also established expectations here about how they would communicate. So many of them are using WhatsApp to communicate with each other, as well as, how often are we going to communicate? When are we going to meet? How are we going to meet? I heard that there was like a hockey game or something that a couple of mentees and mentors went to, which is super cool. And this was a really wonderful event, as I mentioned, and really showed us the importance of that face-to-face meeting, because now when mentors and mentees interact via whatever it may be, WhatsApp, email, they have a face, a voice, a personality to match those interactions to before they even need any assistance. So then when they do need it, they're more likely to reach out because there's a connection that was built. So the next steps we're looking forward to, we're going to continue to, again, meet with mentors on a monthly basis, again, to troubleshoot, to make sure that they feel supported, and to hear from them and what they think we could be doing better or what they think we're doing well, so we can do more of that. The survey will be administered at the end of November. Again, this will be a compensated survey. Originally, our plan was to administer the survey at the end of the traditional academic year, but the business school model of their academic timeline is different. They're 12 to 16 month programs, so we thought it would be more appropriate to administer it in November, which really showed us the importance of adaptability of our project. And then in December, we'll be able to look over that data and see like what's working, what can we improve, because we don't want this to be just like this semester or this year. We want this to be something that continues. And actually at the mentor-mentee meetup, I had a mentee ask me how can she be a mentor next year. This is like day one of their program. So that's cool. And it really shows that there's interest. And another important point is that in partnering with the business school, it kind of freed up some of our other funds to start like an offshoot of this program in the applied psychology department, which also has a lot of international students, one of whom is me. But this will be with the master's students. And so we are currently in the process of introducing mentors to mentees, and some of the funds will also be used to kind of facilitate these meetings, as well as hopefully host some events with mentors and mentees to, again, build community. And we'll continue to monitor, check in with the mentors on a monthly basis, and then administer the survey in May at the end of the traditional academic year, again, because of the timeline is different than the business school. So you may be sitting here thinking like, wow, this is such a great project. I would love to get involved and do something like this. And my contact is up on this slide, and I'll also be over by the poster later if you have any questions, comments, thoughts, anything like that about how this might be able to be utilized with your students or your peers if you are a student yourself. And in collaborating with the business school, there were kind of three big things that we took away from that. One, again, the idea of collaboration. There's value in hearing the thoughts and opinions and experiences of others who come from different backgrounds, especially if you are trying to implement something into a population of students that you don't always work with. It's really valuable to hear, like, these are the experiences that I'm seeing. As well as adaptability, like I'd mentioned, the timeline is one of the examples, but there could be other examples as well. It's not a one-size-fits-all situation. What works for one group might not necessarily be what works for another, so we have to really be flexible to what those needs are. And finally, we learned that evaluation is a really important piece of it, because again, we want to make sure that the interventions that we are putting forth are working and are helping, and students are utilizing them. And if they're not, we want to ask, why is that, and how can we improve it? And that is all I have. Again, thank you so much to all of you for being here. It's wonderful hearing about all the other projects as well. And I'm very honored to be part of a project that was selected for this award, and to hopefully promote belonging and inclusion regardless of student background and what they look like, where they come from. Everybody deserves to feel like they belong, and everybody deserves an education. So thank you. Do we have time for questions? Okay. Yes.
Hi, really nice job in your presentation, and congrats on this I3 award. I'd like to learn more about how you did your training for the mentors. So we kind of run a similar program in communication sciences and disorders, where we pair our first-year graduate students with second-year mentors. But what we found over time is it'd be great to provide more resources on mentorship, and also that these kind of mentorship pairs tend to diminish as schedules get busy and lives get more complex. So how do you also encourage that consistent interaction between mentor and mentee?
Yeah, okay. So the first question was, how did we conduct the trainings, and like what was included in that? So we identified mentors, I think I want to say like February or March or something like that. And so we really wanted, before students like broke off for the summer, to get them really excited about the project so that they'd come back in September. And so the training that we had in May was really to identify, again, we had like a strengths exercise where everybody identified different strengths. We had them kind of know who has a similar strength, who has opposite strengths, so that you can work with them going forward if you feel like somebody has a strength that could amplify or complement yours. And again, to really build that community. And I believe at the end of that, the mentors started like a WhatsApp chat. WhatsApp is very useful for the formation of peer mentorship programs. They started a chat and were kind of communicating with one another over the summer. And then in the fall, we had some people come in to talk about like different resources, how to make sure that you're able to encourage like healthy practices with your mentee and all of that. And again, active and empathic listening. And then the second question you had asked was, how do we encourage them to stay? What's the word? Engaged, yes, thank you. Well, I think the monthly meetings with the mentors is really helpful, because then they can kind of brainstorm with each other. Like if an event that one person is putting on isn't working, they can hear from other people of like, what are you doing that's beneficial? But also there is a lot of need in this community. So I think it's both. It's like the mentors trying to put on the events that make most sense for their mentees, but also the mentees were specifically asking for mentors in the first place. And so I think there's also like an internal desire to be connected. And again, I think that face-to-face established contact was really helpful, not only in connecting with mentors, but also connecting with other mentees. So just making sure that you have those systems in place, but also I feel like it's meeting a need that was already in existence. So good question. The end. Thank you.
It's phenomenal. Thank you, Milena. And I really want to emphasize how important it is to the mentoring to build self-efficacy. Self-efficacy comes from mastery experiences. It comes from vicarious experiences, seeing somebody being successful that you can relate to. And the third is really through these mentoring relationships. It's called subjective judgment. I call it the Home Depot effect. You can do it, we can help. And having that mentor is really, really powerful. Shout out to Home Depot. Hopefully they'll be a sponsor next year. So the fourth group, the projects really range, and the funding is not a lot. From 10,000 to 55,000 as well, and so this is not a major lift in order to really bring about these creative ideas as well. So that's exciting, but also as David Madigan mentioned, there's an opportunity for us as well through donors and philanthropy and others who can support us. The fourth group is the Social Justice Peer Mentorship Program. And that will be led today by Maria Katrina Jaime. Is that Jamie? Okay, you get me back. I should have asked before. Maria is associate clinical professor and assistant director of undergraduate programs in Bouvet, and she represents the Oakland campus. Please.
All right, I'm going to do this too. Let's see, is it working? Okay. Hi everyone, I'm really excited to be here. Follow along because I'm a mover and a shaker. Really excited to be here, have a lot of gratitude and privilege to be here, and excited to be presenting with part of our team who's here in Boston. Before we start, we'd like to actually give homage to Oakland. Oakland is deeply rooted in so many important social justice work. Particularly here, we wanted to share with you the Ascendance mural. I recommend you go and check out Oakland murals. It truly represents not only transformative equity, but really the history of Black and brown folks really motivating culture and activism together. So this is by the Green Lighting Institute, led by artist Diaz Mundo. So we'll go through some of our presenters. We really wanted to spend some time about the background of what actually got us to this program. This has been something that's been tested for the last 3 years, and thank you for the funding that really allows us to perpetuate it to this next step for a mentorship program. And then we'll get into the program itself. So Quinn is here with us, as well as Mackenzie and Professor Hong, and then myself. We'll get some background from Mackenzie regarding the student-led initiatives that really built this program and really informed it and helped us continue forward. And then I'll speak a little bit about how that turned into a research program that then turned into this mentorship program. So I'm going to invite Mackenzie up now.
Thank you. So just to speak upon some of the student-led initiatives that helped influence the Social Justice Peer Mentorship Program, the first of which is a full-spectrum doula training course. It was offered as a major elective in 2020, and it was led by Tess Waxman, who was a student at the time and now is a Mills alumni. So with this course, there was both pre and post course evaluations that took place just to capture some of the confidence levels that occurred while in the course, and also to see if students are interested in pursuing a career in the birth workforce. So all of this information from the evaluations was consolidated, and I, among Dr. Jimmy, Tess, and another professor, spoke at the APHA conference in 2020 and presented information based off of what we captured in this course. And a second initiative, Being in STEM While Black, was an initiative to really open the room and have a conversation about intersectional systemic racism within higher education to address the need for support and also the need for retention of Black students within STEM courses and also within STEM majors. And so with this event, there was a panelist where students were able to talk about their experiences and also give suggestions on how to create a more inclusive learning space at Mills. And this led to a senior thesis on understanding the retention efforts and outcomes of BIPOC students in STEM.
So through these initiatives, I said, you know what, students have much better ideas than I do. But how do we operationalize it? Because it's not fair for us to put that all on their shoulders. So through the example of Mackenzie's leadership, along with Tess Waxman, these Mills students really had this agency, but how do we operationalize it? So I saw a need, being in the position that I was as the head of the previous Public Health and Health Equity program, to operationalize a research study that really focused not only on social justice, but advocacy. So to my 3 seniors total. Nadia Bordeaux here, who's featured with Chris Neong, really had this agency to say, how do we bring the Yemeni community into the fold? There's an important population there who is not identified as refugee status in the States. So Mandela Family Resource Center is a really important resource for this population, and Nadia was the one who saw that need, and in partnership with her role in the Muslim Student Alliance, alongside our health equity program, we were able to help operationalize a research study that did qualitative studies with Yemeni mothers, and then Nadia was not only able to do that for part of her senior thesis, operationalize both an internship that now we still have students going to and from Mandela Family Resource Center, and then again, we also our end outcome is we're able to operationalize social justice initiatives into research projects, because that was also accepted at APHA for oral presentation. And then in the height of COVID, we know that there's also heightened awareness. Racial disparities have already been happening. We know there's a lot of conflict relating Black and brown folks and police brutality. But 2 or 3 of our Black identifying students, Ashley here and Dylan Turner Keener here, really identified that and identified that there's an issue of racial trauma that's happening in the classroom. So if we're not acknowledging what's happening externally with students, they're not going to be able to learn in the classroom. So part of their agency was to make sure, how do we do this in the classroom classroom. And again, I had the privilege to operationalize and help them with that through a research study. So they were able to provide that research and provide some training among STEM professors particularly, because we're trying to accelerate this type of learning in STEM where there's less representation of that. And they were able to do that. And then again, operationalize that research study, did pre and post surveys both with faculty who were involved and then students who had those classes. And we were able to present again at the American Sociological Association. So really our mentorship program has truly been informed. So I'll talk to you about the purpose and the goals, the timeline, and in that timeline, Professor Hong will share our first dyad of peer mentorship programs, and then we'll end with our steps and outcomes. So you saw from Mackenzie, those student-led initiatives really was like, how do I perpetuate and make sure that this continues? How we were able to do that through a research program. And now the combination of those things, which again, are rooted in my students' ideas, not my own, we're able to create now this mentorship program and continue to build that forward. And what we're doing here is really making sure that those bridge is happening. As we know, we're in this merger, and now we have Mills alumni working in partnership with our current undergraduate mentees. It's a really wonderful opportunity to diversify and connect. And then our main goal here is to make sure that those undergraduate mentors have that support, not only from faculty like myself, because as we just saw from our previous presentation, peer-to-peer is really critical, right? That sense of belonging, that sense of empathy is really important. And we would definitely want to be doing that in the sciences, because I think there's more push that needs to be done in that discipline. And then the objective here is not only to create and build on that student-led programming, but also making sure that we have this quality mentorship that's coming from a diverse faculty and peers. So this is where we are right now. We were able to get the grant. Again, so much gratitude for us to be able to continue to push forward and mobilize what we're doing now. We did a whole host of interest forms that had questions from demographics to interest in social justice work. And then we were able to operationalize postings, because we had to hire each of our alumni mentors who are no longer students to be actually on the payroll. And then at the same time also find mentees who are interested. Dina is here today. She's going to be one of our mentees in the fall. And then Professor Hong is going to talk about our first dyad, which we're really excited about, our first mentee and mentor partnership to operationalize research. And Professor Hong will talk about that, and then I'll wrap up with program progress. So this is our faculty team. This is how we started. I just want to acknowledge both Jared Young, Charlene Betson, and then Vala Burnett. So we had a student researcher, Yomi Rong, who also helped us in the process. As you can imagine, it's like, oh my God, we have the money. Now what do we do? So it was really, really important, again, to be student-centered. Yomi had this opportunity to do her capstone with me and also do an independent study over the summer. And she helped us with really figuring out what's our matching protocols, how are we really looking at this? So she had an opportunity to kind of have this perspective as a student and us as faculty as we started matching and deciding and recruiting. And then we recognized that we had this imbalance of more Mills alumni who, again, the relationships was just really deep there. How can we still keep that belonging available, right? That would be the last group that we'd want to say, you know what, sorry, we're out of money, we can't have more than that many mentors. So we were able to figure out operationalizing 3 other roles through Yomi's understanding of being a student and also being in this position. And we were able to have not only a mentor role, but we also now have content experts, and we also have outreach consultants. So I'm going to pass it off to Professor Hong.
Hi everyone, my name is Mickey Hong. I am an assistant adjunct professor at Mills College at Northeastern. Thank you so much, Katrina, for that wonderful introduction. I just can't say enough about how warm and loving these dyads are being formed, and I'm privileged that we were the first dyad to do research with this I3 funding. So I am a scholar of urban planning and public health, and I supported the first dyad doing original research with the research monies we got with my mentee Quinn Martin, who's a first-year Northeastern student, and an alumni mentor, a Mills graduate from 2018, Ariel Coleman. She's not here. So basically, what is the research? What am I doing with the funding that I got from I3? Well, I study urban planning strategies to aid tobacco control and demonstrate that there's a direct relationship between design and livability. So how do we get good tobacco control into the public health arena? So we do it by looking at urban plans. We investigated questions about land use and environmental justice related issues. Ariel and Quinn, through this project, worked with data from the Americans for Non-Smokers' Rights Foundation to understand legislative patterns of anti-tobacco laws as they relate to local efforts of urban plan making. So what did we do? What did we do over the summer, the short summer that we had? Well, we talked about comprehensive plans. Comprehensive plans are urban planning documents. It's a planning process for a wide range of interrelated topics that are of concern to a particular urban area. It outlines values envisioned in a long-term plan for the built environment. It is public health. It addresses clean air, water, healthy food, green spaces, safe housing, and our specialty, tobacco control. So what did we do? Well, Quinn and Ariel looked at a city named East Palo Alto in San Mateo County. It is racially and the most economically diverse city in San Mateo County. That's where Stanford is. So it's like right next to Stanford and Palo Alto, this small, very underserved community. They have higher rates of asthma and diabetes than county residents overall. They have worse health indicators than, Palo Alto and Menlo Park and all those other Silicon Valley towns. And what they did, though, is they had a very special health element in their general plan, what's called general plans in California. And they did a lot of good things about health. They put forward a lot of good ideas, especially with relation to tobacco control, smoking in public spaces, prohibiting that, multi-unit housing, prohibiting that. It went into implementation mode in 2016, or adoption in 2016, but they have not been able to pass laws around multi-unit housing, which is the big thing in tobacco control right now. We've taken care of a lot of outdoor air, a lot of indoor air, but multi-unit housing, where it goes through the cracks, is still a hot issue for a lot of people that do not want that restriction. So they got a C from the American Lung Association, East Palo Alto. So these qualitative findings that Ariel and Quinn have been working on, we also did a quantitative piece on this subject. We looked at policy surveillance database of tobacco control policies in local jurisdictions in California. It's called the PETS, Policy and Evaluation Tracking System. We analyzed PETS data in relation to tobacco policy language in California comprehensive plans, in these urban plans, and we found out that cities with comprehensive plans that included more tobacco policy language legislatively passed less tobacco-related laws. So this correlation suggests that places that include more language in their comprehensive plans around tobacco may do so because their cities do not have enough momentum to accomplish without direct legislation. So that's kind of where we're at with this research right now. Right now, we're working to partner with the city of Hayward to look at their general plan. City of Hayward is the second most diverse city in California, right? So we're looking forward to working with them and to receiving external funding. But thank you so much for this I3 funding. It's really helped us go a long way. And then you're next.
All right, hello everyone. Thank you, Professor Hong. My name is Quinn Martin, and I first met Professor Hong last year during my NU in Bay Area experience in the fall. And ever since we've developed a very strong relationship, and I joined this awesome research project in February. So getting into the specifics of this dyad, some of the goals have consisted of learning sampling strategies and research methodology, really just supporting the research team any way I can as an undergrad. And another goal has been supporting SJ work, as well as advocating and mobilizing policies for low-income and underserved communities. And an objective of this dyad has been understanding the SDUH, the social determinants of health, in health policy research, which is really a core of any public health endeavor. And two major outcomes of this dyad have been assessing paths for communities and tobacco control implementation, as well as writing a health equity report, specifically for East Palo Alto, which is where we're really trying to put our work into practice. Yeah, and overall, I just wanted to say this has been a really amazing opportunity for me as an undergrad. And Ariel couldn't be here today, but she also has been an amazing mentor, and just thank you so much to everybody at DEI and I3 for this opportunity.
So I know I'm out of time because I'm looking at Nikki. So essentially, we can see that it's operationalized. We have our wonderful dyad. We are continuing with our 6 other alumni scholars. These are our 3 mentees that we will have in the fall. And then our expected outcome is to really diversify not only our student population, but also the workforce. And the long-term outcomes is making sure that this is also replicable. And then the sustainability, more so I'd want to highlight these 2 things, that we're ensuring that mentees can then become mentors, and we saw that in our last presentation, and also that the alumni scholars, as Margarita pointed out, could be the next set of leaders to really help diversify DEI in the sciences. Thank you so much.
What a phenomenal opportunity, and to give students an opportunity to do real action research is powerful, powerful in that experience as well. So kudos to you as well as a team. And I think the obviously the real value in all of this are the dyads that's created. So thank you. So the last team to present is the Transgender Health, Equity, and Belonging. AC Shilu Goldberg. AC Goldberg. So I will not be calling the names during commencement, just to let you know. But he's part-time lecturer, communications sciences and disorders here on the Boston campus. AC?
Hi, everyone. Oop, can you hear me? Do I need the mic? Hello, everyone. Can you hear me now? All right. Thank you so much. It is such an honor to be here with so many impressive people doing incredible projects. I can't wait to talk to you about Trans Health, Equity, and Belonging, this cross-campus education consulting and resource that I have been developing in collaboration with 2 of my colleagues. First, I'm going to introduce myself. My name is AC Goldberg. I use he, him pronouns, and it is International Pronouns Day. So I want to just stress to you all the importance of introducing yourself with your pronouns. It does actually help transgender people feel like they can be more comfortable and they can use their pronouns with you. I come about this work as a speech-language pathologist and also a DEI consultant by trade. I have also started a gender-affirming voice clinic here at Bouvet since I've been here, and I'm very excited about that. And I can't wait to tell you a little bit more about my colleagues that I am working with. Dr. Emily Zimmerman is the chair of the Communication Sciences and Disorders Department, and she runs a lab where she studies babies, and it's really amazing, and the babies are adorable. And she is an incredible proponent of DEI initiatives within our department, as is our extremely organized program director, Professor Sarah Young Hong. She also is very, very involved in weaving DEI and all sorts of important topics throughout all of our meetings that we have. I really think that these 2 folks are doing such a great job just within our department that I feel really proud to be doing this work alongside them. So let me tell you a little bit about our project. Our project aims to attract and retain transgender students, staff, and faculty, and teach current students, staff, and faculty best practices in trans inclusion, and to ensure students on all campuses receive culturally responsive care from health services. When we think about the trans experience on a college campus is really like a microcosm of the larger world. when we think about equity in the trans experience, we think about healthcare. What is happening with trans students and their healthcare providers? What's happening with trans people out in the world and their healthcare providers? Those things can lead to issues where trans people have a disadvantage in the campus, on any campus, and in the world itself. Same thing with housing. What's happening with trans people and their housing? What's happening between trans people and the people who work in the housing department? And how can we make sure that trans people are having an equitable experience on campus across all different departments? I have had so many incredible networking experiences within just starting this work, which I feel like is only just the beginning, where I've talked to people about their various initiatives in trans inclusion, and everyone is in very different places in their knowledge and understanding about the trans community. And I really strive to help people bridge that gap between the knowledge and the implementation of their inclusion and belonging practices across different places within campus, like housing and health. So our vision is to make Northeastern the top educational network for trans health equity, institutional allyship, and a model for inclusive practices in higher education. By fostering a sense of belonging for all students, staff, and faculty of all genders, providing holistic support throughout the network through targeted consulting, education, and just community discussion. We want to offer coursework and training in best practices related to trans health equity. As someone who works as a healthcare provider, providing gender-affirming health services, and for a long time I've worked as a consultant teaching other people how to provide just culturally responsive healthcare to trans people, I like to approach this from a few different angles. One, teaching students who are going to be future healthcare providers how to provide these health services, and teaching people who are already providing these services on campus how they can not just provide culturally responsive care, but really up their game and provide the highest standard of care based on current research and practices and bridge that gap once again. So what we've done is we're hoping to provide education across the Northeastern network, teaching best practices to serve students. And the way that we're doing this is targeted education. We have a Canvas course that's open access. There's a QR on our poster. It didn't make it into this slideshow, but if you want, you can email me and I'll send you the link. We've got some programmed modules in there already that will teach you a little bit about the trans experience. And we also want to provide targeted consulting. And I've been collecting data from students about where those efforts would be best focused and how and who I can contact in order to make those connections and conversations so that people are implementing best practices across the network happen. We want to make sure that we work with all units because anyone can be trans, and we really want to make sure that every single person who works on the Northeastern campus understands that trans students exist, that trans faculty exist, and that there needs to be an understanding of what it's like to not just be trans, but to actually serve trans people and understand the trans experience from a holistic lens. So we have the rollout of 5 educational modules planned. The first one is already up in our Canvas course. It's just issues in transgender healthcare. This is aimed toward current healthcare providers as well as students who are studying to be any type of healthcare provider, or just the community at large who wants to learn more about trans health equity. We've got another module about intersectional cultural responsiveness for allied healthcare providers, which really aims to explain the intersections of the trans community and how health equity plays within those intersections. Module 3 will be inclusive healthcare advocacy and policy writing, and this is where we get into the longevity of the project, because if you think about policy writing and we think about advocacy, we think about what types of written policy can Northeastern put out that can serve as a model for higher education within serving trans people on campus. Module 4, anti-bias practices and belonging in healthcare spaces. That's a really fun, that's a workshop series. It's not a pre-recorded. A lot of these are pre-recorded modules that you can go on and engage with and have conversations on a discussion board. But this one, the anti-bias training, is a live module. So if you all are available in April and May, we suggest that you join us. And then Module 5 is going to focus on trauma-informed care and health equity. This is something that I can't stress the importance of enough within our community. Most of us are traumatized in some way, especially by the healthcare system. And it's really important that anyone who's serving trans people understands trauma-informed practices, and any future healthcare providers or students who are interested in healthcare understand the fact that trauma does impact health equity, and how we can mitigate that in our clinical interactions is very, very important. So our plan continues to be directing, consulting, and mentoring of health service personnel across campuses. This is not just for the Boston campus. We really want to take this to other campuses, and if you are from another campus and want to network with me about how I can get in touch with your health services department, that would be wonderful. We will have online discussion groups for trans students, staff, and faculty. It's really nice to bring people together, especially from across the campus network. It's interesting working here and meeting a lot of trans people through the Gender Affirming Voice Clinic. A lot of them don't know other trans people on campus. And, you know, we think about the fact that we have a resource center, a really wonderful resource center. We have so many different initiatives that are about LGBTQIA plus belonging and inclusion. But there are trans people on the campus who are not cued into those, that are not hooked into those, who maybe don't feel like they want to go socialize. Maybe they're not out as transgender, so they want a place to come and talk. And what we have in this Canvas course is a discussion board where people can participate and bring their full selves and be their full selves, because we all want to be our full selves at work. We also feel like this will interplay very nicely with Northeastern's commitment to and current projects related to mental health. Mental health is a consideration. It's a big consideration within the trans community, not because trans people have mental health issues at baseline, but because we develop them based on how we're treated. And the better people are treated across settings, the more their pronouns are respected, the more their names are respected, the better their health services are, the better their mental health will be. And this really plays a role in how we experience education, how we experience the world. And it's really important that we think about this in the context of the broader initiatives of mental health across the university. So what have we done so far? Well, we've got that Canvas course with those recorded modules about trans health equity. Those are short. They should be easy to listen to, and they're designed to help you engage. They're designed to help people engage with this topic. And you know, none of this would be possible without this fund, and I'm so grateful to be here. We have been networking with the LGBTQA Resource Center to understand where the gaps are in where people's education kind of falls short and what needs to happen in order to implement next steps. I've been networking with the staff at University Health and Counseling Services, and like I said, I'm looking to branch into other campuses, so anyone listening on Zoom is welcome to email me. We've been meeting with students to determine various needs across campuses, having discussions with the Center of Intercultural Engagement, and planning the rollout of online discussion board and a launch of live Zoom events. The sustainability of this project is determined by people's investment in it. So if people engage with this Canvas course, if people engage with these consulting opportunities, this project will live on in perpetuity because people will have gained the education in order to bridge this sort of equity gap that occurs when we know that there are issues within transgender communities that we need to address, but nobody's quite sure how to address them. So what are the next steps? I have big dreams. I would love to see the development of a certificate program within the Northeastern University Network in Trans Health. There's also the potential for a certificate program for the public in Trans Health. I've thought about the fact that there is not one singular trans person within the Northeastern community network to be a liaison, and that could be something that would be really useful, a student liaison especially, to gain the student experience, gain access to the student experience across the campus network. There will be more trans health and wellness programming within the community network. We would love to see model policies adopted by the entire network, not just campus by campus, but all of the campus networks adopting policies that we know are best practices. And we are going to collect data on transgender well-being, retention, and attrition. So this is the time when you all can ask me any of your questions. And is this our... this is the affinity groups, but you all can ask me your questions. My email address is not even on there, but I will leave this QR up so that you all have a chance to scan it.
Thank you so much for sharing this truly inspiring work. I'm curious, for other campuses that maybe don't have a healthcare center or program, what are some ways that we can get involved?
That's a great question. I would love it if you were to join the Canvas course, and we can talk about ways that you can develop community partnerships so that if you do have trans students on campus who require health services that your campus can't provide or your campus doesn't provide because you don't have a health center, that you have a plan for those students and you're making sure that you're sending them to a place that is prepared to serve them to the best of their ability. But yes, you can get involved whether or not you have a health service center. Does anyone have more questions? Well, thank you so much. Bringing this program to fruition is amazing. Thank you.
Very much, thank you, and I apologize too. I get so caught up in all the things that I'm supposed to do. My pronouns are he, his, him, and I very much thank you for recognizing today and the special day that this is as well. Weren't these great? These are fantastic. AC, you and I are kind of eye to eye on the big dreams. I think this idea of just the bold vision that you have and this particular project has, as many of the projects have. I think we need to be bold, and I think we work with a bold president, as we have seen. We are a bold institution as well, and so I think this is the right kind of environment. I also want to recognize Dr. Melissa Berry Woods, who is our Director of Learning Development and in the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. Melissa had this idea about student ambassadors, student leaders as well, and you mentioned that you'd like to have an ambassador, and I think that's a connection there. She's doing the recruiting and training these ambassadors to work on the ground and building connections as well, so I think there's a good connection there. With that, I am thrilled to begin to transition this Inclusive Impact Innovation Showcase and Summit to the reception, during which we will actually ask the teams to stand in front of their posters and answer questions, and we'll ask everybody to just walk around and talk with those authors, the project leads, about their work. Before I do that, I want to just once again recognize the project teams. Thank you for all of your work. I know the the coming here and presenting is only sort of scratches the surface of all the work that's put forth in this effort, and you've demonstrated that. The 54 other teams, of course, that unfortunately were not awarded this time around. We'll encourage you to go back, if you are a part of this audience here, to go back and submit again this year. We're hoping to be able to expand beyond the roughly $150,000 we were able to award this year through philanthropy. I see some of my advancement colleagues are in the room, and they're working hard to identify additional funding for the program. Our goal is $1 million fund, an endowed fund for this effort across the university. The John D. O'Brien African American Institute, where we are here in the Boston campus, thank you for opening up your doors. The PAC Network, thank you for your expertise and involvement, and also making sure that my head stays down in the sight line. Thank you. Nikki Long, thank you, our program coordinator, who has really been the point person for the I3 Fund. And also the members of the Office of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion. I really want to thank you all as well. On November 3rd, the Office of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, in partnership with the Miller Institute, will be hosting a National Student Leadership Diversity Conference. It's one of 4 conferences around the country. Northeastern will be hosting that, and we're expecting hundreds of students from the area to be a part of that. It is a training initiative. It is a set of workshops for students who want to do work on the ground around leading diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging efforts. The featured speaker is Jane Elliott. And Jane Elliott was the elementary school teacher after Dr. King was assassinated, who led her classroom, 3rd grade classroom, through a brown eyes, blue eyes exercise. And some of us may have seen those videos. She'll be here on campus. In addition, we'll have other speakers. I think I will say a few words, but you're not there for me. You're here for all this. So please encourage your students to participate. We have about 35 free tickets for students. For Northeastern students, it's $75 to register. If it's a hardship, we'll support you, but you have to register and take advantage of this by Friday. Friday is when that particular special code goes away. In addition, Office of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion hosts a newsletter we call Calypso. And there was a whole reason behind Calypso. Calypso music is a social justice music, was generated. But we will encourage you to subscribe. It's only opt-in. So we have over 2,000 registrants for this, and I do a blog every month around belonging, but we feature members of our community throughout, so we lift up their voices as well, and we hear really good things about Calypso. The next round of the Inclusive Impact Innovation Funds will be this spring. Please keep an eye out and an ear out for those, and we're hoping it's going to be bigger, right, Kristen? We're hoping it's going to be bigger next year. So thank you. Please take your time to head over to the posters. We're here until 5 o'clock. Thank you, PAC Network. Thank you, those who are online watching. We very much appreciate you. And take advantage of what Dining Services has provided us as well. Take care.